Hi guys, I'm going to do a quick reading and it's going to be a mind, body, spirit reading. And the first card, which is the Oracle card, is kind of be like the overarching theme. And I'm using the Santa Muerte Oracle because I love it and that's why. So our first card is number 18, emotions. Sentiments, fluid and changeable like water. They are the aspect that characterizes this card both positively and negatively. Our emotions are the main source of our moods, of our joys and pains. They are the part of us that places us in a receptive and communicative position in regards to the external world, ready to embrace it with open arms. In negative terms, however, they can lead us to close and isolate ourselves from the everything around us, transforming the initial multicolored source into tears. The advice of the dead: remember to put your heart into what you're doing. Otherwise, the results will be exclusively tied to the satisfaction of your ego and will stagnate in a swamp. So yeah, a lot of that inner knowing that I always talk about and that inner compass is really being able to feel and intuitively know when your feelings are properly from your center, or if they're, in their head or in your gut. There's a big difference. The gut sometimes can be kind of a fear tactic. A lot of times I think we think of trust your gut. Well, yeah, you can trust your gut, but a lot of times that takes discernment too, because that's a lot of fear down there. Your center core is where your being is, right? That's where the heart is. The little red, what did she say? The little red cathedral. So I feel like that's what this is going to be about. This is going to be about our emotions and how this comes into play with our mind, body, spirit for today. So today, because that's what I feel like this should be. This is, it's short. It's just about, what you need to kind of focus on today. And then, so our first card being the mind, I thought that was kind of awesome that it happens to be the Knight of Swords. So a lot of times the Knight of Swords can be about fast communication. It can be about, quick and decisive mental actions, making decisions, being that this is about our feelings, and maybe this is about being able to discern what our feelings are for us. Maybe today there can be like a tendency to kind of jump the gun and rush in with, your first instinct, right? If you're not somebody who is able to kind of tune in and kind of make those quick decisions from an intuitive aspect, then that might mean that maybe you need to kind of slow down a little bit with your feelings, because our feelings sometimes they'll rush in and like water, they flow through you. So sometimes those come in before we actually know what we're feeling, right? And then our hormones are a lot of times involved in our emotions, because everything is chemical reactions. I think science is magic. I don't care what anybody says, it's all related. But so I feel like a lot of times too, it's about understanding what is causing that trigger, right? A lot of times it takes a little bit of, kind of stepping back a little bit. So maybe that's a warning. Or it could be about, those first initial feelings. Sometimes there's truth to that. So it can go either way. And I think it depends on where you are in relation to, being able to balance your mind and your body and your heart. So this feels like that's something. Or it could be maybe you are going to get a message today from somebody, some type of communication, because a lot of times the mind, that's what that's about too. Something that is going to be, spoken to you, and it's going to be about your feelings. So there you go. And then, so I love that, for the body, we have the Hermit. So, an earth sign, which is like the body, and so that, as regard to our feelings, again, I feel like this is really sitting with those emotions and kind of tapping into those inner knowings and really understanding what your emotions are to you, whether you have a regulated nervous system or not, whether this is something that is instinctual. I feel like a lot of times that, when we have emotional outbursts, or we have a burst of being in Aries, when you have a burst of passion, or something sparks you or it triggers you, a lot of times it is because you're a passionate person, and that a lot of times those triggers are, clues to let you know that there is something that you maybe need to work on. I don't think we need fixed. I think we need refined. That's going to be my saying, and I'll put that on t-shirt. but along with balance and give and take. That's going to be my other one. Anyway, but yeah, so as far as like your feelings, I feel like being the hermit, maybe don't bottle them up inside either. That could be another thing. Being that a lot of times, like, we keep them inside our body rather than expressing them when they really can do the most good. I am not a feeling bottler. I'm somebody that can't keep my feelings in, unfortunately. So I always like to say that, like, how I feel at all times. I think that, like, we all have deep things that we do hide that eventually come out. So I'm not like, I'm not shielded from that reality. But at the same time, I think 9 times out of 10, I how I feel at all times. And I like to be that way because if I keep stuff inside, it drives me nuts. As you can tell when you read my post, that like if I have thought in my head, I have to learn how to stop doing that, because I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna do this really cool thing and it's gonna start this day, and then 10 months goes by and I don't do it. But so whatever, as long as you guys love me and understand that that's who I am, then we're all okay, right? But yeah, so really maybe also embodying the emotions that you're feeling, because sometimes that can really help you kind of put you into the right thing that you're creating. So, and they mentioned that in the Oracle card about, putting your heart into it. So I really feel like maybe this is about something that you're creating or something that you're doing today, something that you're working on, whether it be something person to person, something personal, or something tangible, something that you're creating. Really put that mind into making those sharp decisions that are intuitive, but also making sure that you kind of understand what your feelings are about something. If you're doing something and you're having resistance, that obviously means that it might not be what you need to be doing right now. So with the hermit, though, as feeling that, like, feel how that feels in your body. It's all about tapping into those emotions. I'm going to say it again, but Queen of Wands, not Queen of Wands, sorry, maybe that's for somebody, but Queen of Pentacles all the way. That is my queen of being able to tap into those emotional aspects. We don't think of her as an emotional queen, but she's earthy. She's somebody who is in tap with her nature and able to kind of understand how her body works within those spaces, because the queens are water, right? Kings are air, queens are water. So she's able to really tap into that whole, and she's not even on here, but whatever. But yeah, so having that ability to really feel your feelings, you know what I mean? Like Bruce Lee says, don't think, feel. Anyways, so my last card is the Six of Wands, which is crazy because, Wands is spirit, and my last card happens to be spirit. So awesomeness. So I feel like whatever you're working on, whatever you're putting your heart into, whatever feeling you put into it, embrace maybe the feeling of success. It's kind of like, when people talk about living in, the feeling that you want to have when you're trying to manifest something. But when we're trying to do something, that's basically trying to manifest something. You're working on something. You're working on something that you want to see happen, right? You're working on something that you want to see created. So why not embody that, right? Why not embody the spirit of the feeling that you'll get when it's accomplished, or the feeling of doing it? A lot of times that's the success of it. That's the part of it that feels good, is, doing something that you really enjoy. Also, a lot of times we think of the Six of Wands as being, recognized and, appreciated. And I feel like that could be also something too. If people are giving you, like, hey, you're doing a good job. If you're like me, sometimes that's hard. Like, it's hard to take compliments, and I have no idea why. These are conditioning things that I think we've had because, we were meant to suffer. You know what I mean? You're meant to, like, you gotta be humble, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? Sometimes when you don't appreciate something from somebody, all you're doing is you're being a freaking jerk. Sorry. I have a family member that, she had depression, and she still goes through it. But, and I remember, like, I would do stuff for her birthday, and she would say things like, oh, it's just another day. And as a little kid, that would bother me. It's like, I wanted you to feel special today. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect some grand, like, oh, you're awesome, thank you. I wanted them to feel special. So, a lot of times that's something I think we don't think about. You know what I mean? We think about, like, if we say something, like, oh, thank you, da-da-da. Like when somebody gives you a sense of gratitude and you don't receive it, you're not giving them the satisfaction of giving, right? Again, give and take. I swear to God, it comes into everything. Balance and give and take is in the entire message of everything that I do. So whatever. I'm a life past 6, so maybe that's part of it. But anyways, so I feel like that's part of it too. So whatever this thing that you're working on, if people are telling you that, hey, you're doing a good job, take that and appreciate that in a gratitudinous way, right? Not in like an egoic way, but in a way that like, oh, hey, thank you very much. Allow that feeling of that to kind of propel you forward. So whoever this is, I wish you much success in whatever this is that you're working on today, and I will talk to you later.